Okay, everyone.
We're here.
We're here.
We are.
Welcome to Shoot Your Shot and Imagen. Here in one place.
Workflows.
Under one household.
Crossover episode.
We are so excited. We have Scott here from Imagen. We are so excited to have you here, Scott. Thank you for joining us on the TV in our office.
Yeah. I should just start talking like a robot, I think, because that's kind of, You know
what? That's actually the next episode. It's so funny you mentioned that. We've been working with some of the engineers at Imagen to actually get you arms so you can control them.
Ooh, then you can roll the 8-ball next time.
And then you could actually just reach out with your robot arms and grab. So for those of you that are just tuning in and listening and can't actually see what's going on, well,
if there was ever a time to tune into YouTube to see the monstrosity that we've created, it looks simple on our screens, but trust us, it is a Frankenstein of epic proportions. We'll show you a BTS.
We'll post a BTS on socials so you guys can see the absolute pure chaos that we have created here.
So good.
But Scott is joining us from New Jersey.
Jersey.
Right.
Do you hate that, Scott? I'm sorry. I'm so Canadian. I don't know how to say Jersey properly.
It's all good.
But Scott's joining us from New Jersey. And Scott, you're our very first guest on the show.
That's right. You know what? I inspire to get you to Frankenstein stuff. So it all works out. It all works out.
Amazing.
It's working out so well, and we are so happy to have you here. And we're happy to be joining you on the Imagen Workflows podcast on your end of things as well. We are huge fans of Imagen. We obviously, even before we actually talked about doing this crossover episode, we have talked about Imagen, I would say probably on every episode, intentionally or unintentionally in one way or another.
It's become such a big part of our lives professionally and honestly personally. The relationships we've created with people who work at Imagen have been like some of the best from any perspective of a company we don't
100%
own.
Yes, truly, right? Yeah. And the relationship feels so natural, and we have gained so much knowledge from our friends at Imagen, yourself included, that we thought, hey, we're an advice podcast. Why not bring in the masters of advice themselves to join us? And you have, through your podcast, have gained so much valuable insight from other photographers as well. Mm-hmm. For the people that are listening to Shoot Your Shot that maybe haven't checked out Workflows yet, do you want to just tell them a little bit about what you usually talk about on your podcast?
Yeah. So as you might imagine, the show is about photography workflows, but we're not just talking software. We're talking from everything from in-camera to delivery. Every aspect of a photographer's workflow is basically what we cover. And so in each episode, you're walking away with some sort of tip or nugget that, could help enhance, even save you 5 minutes of your workflow to hours and hours of your workflow, depending on the discussion. But we've also brought other type of things in with different monologues about specific topics, or what we're doing right now, where we're doing this nice collab and having a whole new perspective on workflows and business and things like that. So the idea is just to help photographers save time, save money in some way, whatever it might be in their business and in their lives. So
I love that.
That's workflows.
And I think it really it goes so much deeper, like you said, than just talking about workflows, because essentially the only reason that we are trying to be more productive, obviously, is so that we can become more profitable and have businesses that are maybe feeling a little bit more effortless. But in doing that, the goal is not just make more money and be better photographers, right? That's obviously not the goal. Well, maybe that is the goal, but the goal is so that we can, for me, spend more time at the cottage, hang out with my little cousins a bit more often.
Enjoy life.
Yeah, spend more time doing the things that make me really happy as a human being, which in turn makes me love my business more.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe when you hear the term business and workflows and all of this, you're just like, oh, sounds really riveting.
Sounds like a rise and grind kind of thing.
But the kinds of conversations that you're getting into on your podcast almost always come down to the emotional aspect of it and what what Imagen and just a better workflow from start to finish, what that gives you back in your life, right? Like I know even on the episode that I was on of workflows, like we got into like deep life things because that's the reason why I care about workflows. It's like so that my mental health is good, so that I can show up as the best version of myself to like my parents and my friends, and you know, it's about a lot more than that. So I'll give like a little bit of an intro, I guess, for your listeners that might not know us. So I'm Lindsay Coulter, and this is Tim Musa.
Hello.
And we are full-time photographers. We're based out of Waterloo, Ontario, really close to Toronto. And Tim is a photographer / also a videographer, filmmaker, podcast producer. Here we are. And I am a photographer, and I'm a podcast doer. I don't produce anything.
You produce in the way that like you're here and you're providing so much more value than I could alone.
Thank you for giving me credit. That's
of
so
course.
Nice.
No, my goodness. You helped design this space. This would be a black hole of some lighting, but it wouldn't look as aesthetically pleasing as it does. So
yeah.
And the other thing that I love to do is just talk about life and the way that our businesses feed into our lives. And one of the things that we do on the Shoot Your Shot podcast is that we answer questions that people send us. This is the whole point of this podcast is people send us a DM, they send us voice notes, they send us little videos, and they can be anonymous or they can be public, and they ask us questions, and Tim and I, with all of our wealth of knowledge,
so much wisdom,
we answer people's questions. And we've had questions from what do you do when you have a videographer that you cannot stand working with on a wedding day, you know, down to what do you do when your family doesn't support your career choice. Like we're talking about a huge range of topics.
Absolutely.
But the first thing that we do at the beginning of every single episode is we ask a question of the magic 8 ball, and then we shake the 8 ball and it gives us an answer. So we have to come up with a question. This is also the funniest thing. I just said this on the last week's episode. You think that I could come up with a question, but no, I like to live large. I like to live in a risky state of being. And today I'm going to come up with a question on I have a really good question.
What do you got?
Are we going to get to hang out with Scott at the next photography conference that we all meet up at? Because Scott keeps avoiding us. Scott keeps avoiding us. Scott keeps on not coming to the conferences, and we have to cry our little hearts out.
It's funny. So you both know Zoe. Zoe messaged me about 2 weeks ago and said, hey, so-and-so can't go to Way Up North. Can you leave for Florence and go? You'd have to go today. Unfortunately, as you and I spoke, I told you a story, a very personal story, right before we started recording. I could not go because of that.
Of course.
But I almost hung out with you in Florence.
Wow. Well, close. Okay, listen. Then we should ask the 8 ball, because you said, well, of course I would hang out with you at the next one. Let's see if the 8 ball is going to align the stars for us. There will be no more personal BS that gets in the way. Let's see. Will we hang out with Scott and the Imagen crew at the next conference?
What do we got?
I'm going to shake it again. Let's see what she's going to say this time. Concentrate and ask again. You know what? It wants us to manifest it. And you know what? I am a big believer in manifestation. And therefore, we will manifest us all hanging out very, very soon.
It has to happen.
So if we're doing routines, what do you think about we...
Ooh, yes.
We go with the workflows routine.
100%. Let's do it. Let's get into it.
Okay, so you guys got to agree on a color, and then you're both going to answer the question.
It's green all day for me.
It's got to be green.
It has to be green.
Green all day.
Let's do green.
All right. So, Tim,
so for those of you that are listening, Scott's pulling a card from his interview.
Oh yeah,
deck.
if you're just listening,
grow up. First of all,
turn your laptop or phone on and open the YouTube app.
If you're driving a car, we'll allow it. That's the only exception.
So I'm gonna thumb through. Tim, you said green. Lindsay, you're gonna tell me when to stop.
Okay. Stop.
Okay. Now you both got to answer this.
Okay.
Whatever it is.
I'm stressed. Okay. My face is hot.
Okay.
All right. When you're feeling sick, what makes you feel better?
Oh man.
Oh my god. Well, I was feeling sick yesterday, Scott. And the only thing that made me feel better was taking a bath and then napping for like 6 hours.
Oh yeah, I love
it. It's one of those things where my body will tell me before, like, it'll let me know that I'm not feeling well because I've been working for 2 weeks straight, and it'll just kind of shut things down for me.
Yes.
Which is also a blessing and a curse, because I should be taking more time to manage my life in a way that is not so extreme.
Should, could, would, you know?
Should, could, would, but, money to be made, things to be created. I'd say a bath and a
nap.
A nap really, really does me well. How about you, Lindsay?
A nap is a critical thing for me. I'm a big time napper. My parents used to make fun of me for napping so much when I was a kid. And I was like, Winston Churchill took a nap every single day. I then learned that maybe I wasn't aspiring to be like Winston Churchill. It's all good. But
he also smoked cigars in his bed, didn't he? And took meals.
I'm inspired. I am truly, truly inspired by this man.
Okay.
I would smoke a cigar in my bed if I didn't have a husband. So I'm a really big proponent of a nap. The other thing a nap does is it just kind of resets. It gives you a little reset. It's like, okay, we started off on the wrong foot here. Yeah. For me, I'm a really big power napper, though. So it depends on how the gravity of the situation is. If I'm really unwell,
27 minutes?
20 minutes specifically.
Minutes. Okay.
Any longer than 20 minutes, we're no longer having a nap so much as we're having a sleep.
I love a good sleep. Yeah.
And that really is going to throw off my circadian rhythm, which I'm really adamant about. My thing that I do is I drink Hydrolyte.
Okay.
So do you guys have Hydrolyte, Scott? Is that an American thing?
I don't think we have that one, but we have all similar type of things.
Okay.
Yeah, little hydration things.
Yeah.
Because generally speaking, if I am unwell, it's probably because a consequence of my own actions that I shot 2 weddings in a row and then did 5 family sessions on the Sunday. And then I was like, did I drink any water yesterday?
Any water? Yeah.
But if I'm really sick and we're talking flu sick and there's only one cure for that, and it is apple juice. I love an apple juice. I'm just like a 5-year-old.
From concentrate, or do you go pure?
No, I actually have a really specific kind. And Taylor is husband of the year because anytime I'm sick, he'll walk to the grocery store and goes and gets me. It's the label says Mellow Dew, which Dew is DOUX, which is just French for the word mellow.
Oh, okay.
But literally, we just call it in our household Mellow Dew, which is not at all. I don't know. It just says mellow on it.
What's the brand? Plug it.
I have no idea. It's just some giant container.
This episode is sponsored by
this apple juice, Mellow Dew. Anyways, anybody that has tried it knows that it is the elite apple juice of choice.
Amazing.
So I am not a napper, but when I am feeling sick, my body makes me nap.
Okay.
For one. But in our family, we also have a saying that a shower will help everything. So if you're feeling sick, take a shower.
Yeah.
That's it. Take a shower. So that's one. I mean, also medicine.
Medicine helps. Yeah.
Medicine's always a good idea. You know what's so funny? I don't know if this is, I think it's probably not an American thing. I always love chatting with our American friends because I've always playing this game. Is that a thing? Do you guys do that? We literally live a couple of hours from each other. And I'm like, is that a thing? Do you guys do this? But yeah, I feel in Canada, lots of people are opposed to taking even over-the-counter medicine. We're just too holistic up here. Maybe not so much in Ontario, but definitely out west and out east. People are have a shot of brandy. You don't need to have medication.
Right.
But yeah, a little Advil might change your day. But definitely a hot shower, ending it on a cold note, that will probably do a really good reset.
Yep, for sure.
Wow. I hope nobody's sick listening to this. But if you are, have a nap, have a shower, drink some water.
And then keep listening or watching later.
Mellow Dew. Yeah. Drink some apple juice. Scott, how are you at giving advice? You good at it?
I am. I do my best.
Okay.
I do my best. I like giving advice when asked. And I do my best to give, whether it's from personal experience or from discussions I've had or things like that.
I love it.
Will you tell our listeners just a little bit about you and yourself, just so that they know where this fantastic advice is coming from?
Oh, yeah. So I've been a professional photographer since the early 2000s. And I started out straight out of college shooting film and in the darkroom. And this was the time when, digital became a thing. I started out doing family sessions and cake smash sessions and headshots and all of that fun stuff. And then just over time, things have evolved. And actually, during the pandemic, my focus shifted pretty dramatically and organically shifted to predominantly photographing surprise proposals, which is a blast.
So fun.
Makes me feel like a spy all the time. And
I've seen your photos. You honestly look like you shoot like a spy because the people don't look like they even are aware that you're there.
Oh, they have no idea.
Yeah, it's
Zero
amazing.
idea. Yeah. I mean, the person who hired me does. The person proposing does.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's just
I'm
stalking
very good
people.
at like, if I'm in a public place where there's other photographers, I'm very good at pretending I'm with them.
Right.
Oh, smart. That's very
I have
smart.
literally hidden in trees and bushes. Got to do what you got to do.
What's your lens of choice?
So, I switched to mirrorless, like most people have been doing.
For sure.
Pre-mirrorless, I was doing 70 to 200.
Okay.
And with a 2x extender if needed, depending on how far I was. And I would just give up the aperture if I have to. It's fine.
That's fine, yeah.
But the reason why I was doing that is because then I can quickly take off the extender if I needed to, right?
Smart.
Rather than just go into a much longer lens. Since mirrorless, I am now using Taylor's favorite lens, which is that 30 to 150 for an Nikon Z.
It's a good
Oh,
lens.
nice.
And I actually am trying to find out, and I'm predominantly shooting at 150 with this, but I'm trying to find out if the Nikon 2X extender for the Z will work on that lens. And if it does, that's going to be my go-to from here on. But
I wish we could phone a friend and ask, but unfortunately we only have one television. So we'll have to find that information out for you after the podcast. But I love that. Okay. And so you shoot proposals and
Yep. So I also work
how
for
did you
Imagen.
how did you get involved with Imagen?
I've been on the software service side since day one. I know myself too well for many reasons. If you listen, for those listening to Workflows, this episode on Workflows, they know my backstory about being bullied and color blindness and all this stuff, right? For those listening on the Shoot Your Shot side, I have gone through some major crap growing up. And I know myself too well to the point where I knew that if I was shooting full time and that was my only source for income, I'd hate photography. And I don't want to hate photography. So I do it. I've always been on the software and service side, educating and serving photographers, but also taking on client work when I want to. So the benefit of that for those who are local to me is I get to refer a lot of people,
awesome.
a lot of jobs, and just take on what I want when I have the time and things like that. So I've gone through a lot, and I have perspectives on things and workflows for everything. And so that's my I guess my backstory and how I feel like I could give advice that could be beneficial for people.
Well, speaking of advice, we have a question.
All right.
So it's an anonymous question. And well, once I read it, you'll understand why they felt like it needed to be anonymous. It's not as racy as some of ours have been. Scott, I don't know if you heard, like we've had podcasts where photographers were like, I think that my client was trying to pick me up with her husband there during a boudoir session. Like we've had some like racy conversations. This one's not so racy, but I pulled it out of the depths of our archives because I felt like it would really be something that you personally will be able to help us answer. Tim and I have a certain skill set, but we are not parents.
No.
And so I think that you'll be a really great person to help us answer this question. So here we go. Mm-hmm. Hi, I need help. Also, let me preface this by saying I'm so sorry that I didn't answer this person publicly then, but I did message them back when it happened because I told them we're not going to answer this on the podcast just yet, but here's my own. Anyways, I'm just so we don't think like I left this person hanging for the last 2 months.
Right.
Hi, I need help. I'm in my 3rd year business and have bitten off more than I can chew. I have kids and all their extracurriculars, as well as a very busy family and wedding photography business. I am so behind and my mental health is taking a toll. My clients are sending emails checking in and I just keep trying to catch up but can't. I don't feel like I can start outsourcing right now because I am too far behind. What do I do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm happy to kick off advice.
Hit it.
So I am a father of 2, and I have children that have various, I'm not going to say complications, but things going on, right? That take up a lot of my time and my wife's time to help with whatever they need. Plus just life in general. So I totally feel anonymous. Kind of weird to not say a person's name, but
I know.
Can we give the person a name? Let's just give it a name.
Okay.
What name should we give it? Give this person?
They seem nice. What's like a nice person's name?
We could just say Jane Doe, right?
Jane.
We just say Jane.
Jane's a good
Sure,
name.
let's talk to Jane.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It
Jane,
feels weird to
okay.
be like, sorry, anonymous. But yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
to Jane. Jane seems like a
Okay.
nice person.
Yeah. So for Jane, as much as it feels like you don't have the time or ability to outsource right now, I promise you that if you do outsource certain areas of your business, it is going to free up that time for you to do what you need to with family, do what you need to otherwise that you're unable to do now, or you feel this pressure on your shoulders to handle. It could be any part of your business, as I said. It doesn't necessarily have to be the editing or the culling or things like that, but those are very tedious parts of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share 2 quick stories to sort of prove that
Please.
that this can help. Okay,
We would love that.
We'd love to hear it.
One is from Hannah Hall, who, for those who are listeners of the Workflows podcast, you probably heard this episode already. If you're a listener of Shoot Your Shot, please go listen to Hannah's episode. It's one of the earlier episodes. Hannah just was on her last wedding that she had to shoot for a season, and driving home with her husband, okay, and got into a car accident, almost died.
Oh my gosh.
And her husband was injured, but not as bad as she was. She almost lost, I believe it was her right arm, and had to go through major surgeries to save her arm, and was really concerned about, I've got all this going on, right, in my personal life. I got health issues to worry about. I am behind. I've got half a season of weddings to edit and deliver before as I heal and before the next wedding season comes. Mm-hmm. So I think it was after her 3rd surgery when she discovered Imagen and tried it and realized, oh, it edits as good as I do. And now she ran that entire backlog through Imagen and was able to deliver it while in her hospital bed recovering from 3 surgeries, right?
That's the craziest thing.
Yeah. So you got to re-listen to her story, right? She obviously tells this much better, but that's just one proof of no matter what you're going through, outsourcing, as scary as it might be, that little bit of work that it's going to take to create a profile, for example, or even if it's a CRM automation, to create that automation, that little bit of work is going to save you all this time afterwards, right? To be able to allow you to get back to families and stuff like that. And the second story I want to share is another Imagen customer that got divorced and was very close to losing her home. Okay, so she's got kids, multiple kids, and could not afford, because she wasn't working as much, could not afford to keep her home. And she discovered Imagen at one of the big trade shows in the US, set up a profile, realized, oh, again, it can edit just the way I can and does it, like many say, better than I can. And went to her daughter's dance school and shot, it was one of her few clients, shot the dance school, shot all the photos for the dance school, and they loved it. And then she got hired by additional dance schools to photograph all the dancers at the school. And then it piled on and piled on. And look, now she's making a lot of money in her business, taking on more dance schools that she couldn't do before, because now she can cull and edit way better and faster than she ever could before, and she saved her house.
Wild.
So again, just to reiterate, no matter what you got going on, if you're outsourced, you're getting that time back afterwards. So that little bit of time up front,
it's up front,
what you need is going to save time in the long run.
And it doesn't even need to be that much time up front. Like, I think we were discussing this beforehand, what we're going to talk about. And like the idea that you can just use one of the talent profiles in Imagen just to get yourself started. And then you can refine as you go is great. You can find a talent profile that's close enough to your style and be like, that's good enough. I'm sure my clients will notice.
You can also even add your own preset on afterwards. Like I made an absolute Frankenstein. Yeah, you did the same thing to get started. So I used one of the talent profiles to get started just to get the edit consistent across the board, because I had thousands of images over the past years, but I didn't feel any like they were like incredibly consistent editing wise, because I had tried so many different random outsourcing companies. Like I had tried all of the companies that actually had supposedly, although I have skepticism about this, they supposedly had an actual person editing each file.
Yeah, I doubt they did.
So sometimes I would get things back that I'm like, okay, it's good. It's not at all like the last wedding you edited for me, but like for me to get this out the door, these clients will be happy with it. It's not how I would have done this, but it is a well edited and consistent wedding from start to finish. And I've been where this person is just without the kids aspect of it, feeling like you're in the weeds and you're like, you know what, I need to get this thing out there. And this is very, very good. It's not necessarily consistent with the rest of the work that I always put out. So I didn't really want to make a profile based on what I had. That was a really big barrier for me, that I felt like, well, I don't really know how to get over that. I loved my preset, and I loved the color grading that my preset did.
Absolutely.
So really all I did was I would run the Imagen talent profile on all of my images, and then once I've pulled it back into Lightroom, apply my preset, do a global sync on all of them, minus the adjustments that Imagen had done that I liked and wanted to keep. And that's how I created my own my own profile that I've then customized, and now I have I think 90,000 images built into my profile. But yeah, I think you did the same thing. And that's what I've taught most people that I know to do, because I'm like, maybe you do feel this sort of sense of overwhelm. Even without feeling in the weeds, I feel like it can be a daunting task to just get started with any new thing, whether it's a CRM, whether it's any sort of new process in your business. It can feel really daunting to make a drastic change. It is the change that has absolutely changed both of our lives for the better. But I think taking a step back, I think there's a couple of things that I want to tell this person and anybody who's listening to this. And I think this episode's coming out really at the perfect time, because every single year I'm in Facebook groups. I'm in the Imagen Facebook group. I'm in the Unscripted Facebook group. I'm in still a few, and I have my own Facebook group as well. Every single year, June, July, and August hit, and people start posting almost this same question word for word, almost the same thing word for word. Hey, what do you guys do when you are so far behind? Maybe I should have caught this a couple of weeks ago and made some changes, but here I am, and I keep on adding shoots every single week to this list of to-dos, and I keep getting busier, and I keep getting pulled in multiple directions, and I have family commitments and I have personal commitments, and I'm just adding to the list. What do I do? My first recommendation is to take some deep breaths. Go outside,
touch grass,
because there is nothing worse than that feeling of, I will never get out of this. The first thing you need to know is, of course you will. The second thing you need to know is that your clients are human beings, and they just want an update. So if the stressor of your clients, because this person Jane mentioned that she was getting emails from her clients checking in. And also, this is the other thing that I notice at this time of year. Photographers, this is a pet peeve of mine.
Go for it.
When photographers post on their public Instagram and Facebook, whatever their social channels are, being like, I am behind on editing. Here is when you can expect your photos. It's supposed to be this public service announcement, just so everybody knows I've been busy and I'm behind.
You're making your customers nervous.
You're telling
on yourself
anywhere from 2,000 people to say 80,000 people, depending on where you're at on your following.
Current and prospective clients.
All these people that you kind of screwed up your workflow. You didn't really have it dialed in. you grew your business faster than your workflows allowed.
Eyes are bigger than your stomach.
And we love that for you.
Yeah.
This is a transformational moment. However, for the 20 people maybe that you need to update, write yourself a little email template. I know it's painful to humble yourself and have to get down and say, I am so sorry. I am in the weeds here. Yeah. To send that email out is a very scary thing. To tell your clients that you're behind on their wedding, to tell your family clients, hey, your newborn session is going to be coming back to you late. But it will give you the gift of people not checking in. And also, you will find out which clients are actually really in need of their images and
versus
which ones are
curious.
Like, hey, you can chill. Yeah. I just wanted an update.
That's
because we are customer service people and they really just want to know.
You're still thinking about them and you're still on their list. I think that's one important thing to mention, Lindsay, is that fact that like, although these emails that we have in our inboxes of things to do and things to complete and, tasks, that's our whole existence for that time. When we feel like we're in the weeds and we feel like this is everything, it's a small footnote in a lot of our clients' lives. They also have a task list of things that they're worrying about, that they're stacked up against, and they just want to send this out to get something back eventually. They're not weighing their entire existence on us completing this one task for them. So
100%.
Although it feels like a mountain to us, it's typically a molehill for a lot of our clients. The other point you made that I thought was really good is whenever I feel like I'm in the weeds, I know that that's a signal to myself that I need to take a day off.
Yes.
Which feels incredibly antithetical to the idea of like, that's not how you get ahead of things. But to give myself the reminder that, oh, I need a day off so that I understand and remember what it feels like to be happy and give myself that kind of end goal in my mind of like, oh, this is what it's going to feel like when all these tasks are done. And I can attack things the next day in an itemized list that makes me feel good about completing them one by one, to know that like the day I had yesterday where I took the day off, I can have that in a week. I can have that in 3 days. I can have that in a month, and know that I have that kind of end goal in mind.
And it doesn't even have to be a day.
No.
It could be give yourself a couple of hours.
Yes. Yeah.
Give yourself the time to go for a walk, to drink some water, to have a shower, to have a nap, whatever that might be. But just center yourself a little bit, because I think, while posting on a Facebook group might feel like the option that's the right one, it's actually probably the worst thing you could be doing, because you're going to get feedback from a bunch of people with a bunch of varying opinions.
Who don't live in your neighborhood.
They don't know what you're talking about. You're probably going to get some shade thrown at you from other photographers that are like, how could you get this far behind? I could never. You know what I mean? Like, you should have done this. You should have done this. You can should your way into a deep state of depression. Not good.
So I have two things to bring up or to comment on. One question for you both. The first two things are, I find that going for a walk extremely helpful. I mean, as I said, like, I've got my full-time job, but I'm also shooting. I'm also being a husband. I'm also being a father. Like, there's so much going on, right? And I'm not complaining. This is life, right? The weather is beautiful now, here in New Jersey, at least. It's beautiful right now. So every single day, I am going for a mile or mile to 2 mile walk every single day.
Blessed.
Sometimes I'm doing it while on a call. If I don't have to be on camera, if I don't have to be at a computer, I am taking that call while walking, because I find that it just mentally is so much better, right? And what was the second thing I wanted to mention? I don't even remember what the second thing was. But then I have a question for you, which is, how often do you find yourselves needing to take a day or even a few hours throughout one day in your lives? Because again, you both may not have kids, but you got pets, and you've got spouses, and you've got lives beyond your businesses. So how often do you find yourself having to take a day, let's say?
Great question. I think I'm maybe once every 2 weeks, which is not enough. I know it's not enough.
No wonder you were having a meltdown yesterday, Timbo.
Yesterday I suffer from seasonal allergies, and like you said, Scott, it's beautiful in the Garden State, New Jersey. It's also very beautiful here in Waterloo, Ontario. And
the trees are blooming.
With that comes pollen and things that are less good for my face. And so I find that even on the best days, my immune system can just take a break and just say, hey, no, you're gonna stop being so much of a productive human being. We're just gonna knock you on your ass for a while.
Yeah.
And those are the days I end up taking off a full day. Mm-hmm. But if I take like half days every week or like a couple hours a day, those days don't happen. Those full blackout days where I'm just relegated to the couch or the bed or the tub out of necessity just to be able to breathe and be a human being, those happen way less when I actually take intentional days. So I know it's kind of a cliche to like work 7 days a week and like that's the grind culture. But I think if I take like a day off, like if it's a Monday or a Wednesday, I'm a lot better like once a week. What are you doing, Lindsay? What's your...
Yeah, I mean... It changes based on the season, as you mentioned. Absolutely. And we've been talking about, right now, I know that I am in a season of busyness and work, and I truly love it, and I truly do enjoy it. I am a huge proponent of scheduling time off in advance, of looking at your schedule for the summer, for the fall, knowing, thankfully, I'm 10 years into this, right? So I screwed up the first 6 years. I didn't schedule time in. I was constantly chasing, catching up, catching my breath, trying to find windows of time for myself. I was taking forced time off because I was drowning, right?
Yeah.
I was working well into the evening most nights, trying to catch up on my editing. I was working 2-3 weddings a weekend, then shooting all day Sunday. And then I would always lie to myself and tell myself Monday, Tuesday I was going to take off. But Monday, Tuesday is the day that generally my clients are right in front of their computer saying, hi, how are you? Yeah. I'm avoiding work today. What are you up to? And so I've just gotten better at booking intentional time off, whether that be, so for me, it's long weekends. I don't work any long weekends. Because my extended family has a beautiful cottage up north, so I try to do that. And then I would say I take 1 day a week off, and I say off very loosely. Yeah. Very, very loosely.
Are you still checking in? What are you doing?
Yeah, so I still answer emails those days. That's a gift I give to myself because I don't want to come back the day after a day off and feel like I just am immediately into almost like the Sunday scaries on my day off. That sounds terrible for me.
I mean, I think that's reasonable. I think that's reasonable to just do the absolute bare minimum on the days off. I think is totally reasonable.
And then the other thing that I think that it's important to remind myself of and any other working photographer is most of my days that I'm working, aside from wedding days, they feel like days off, to be honest. I am blessed. I really feel so fortunate in the work that I do that I drive through the countryside multiple hours a week.
Cows.
I literally, at the beginning and end of an engagement session, I will take the long way home and go do cow portraits at sunset. Why wouldn't I? Literally, why wouldn't I? Because that's blessed. I will meet up with my girlfriends for a tea or a beverage or something after a shoot. I listen to my favorite podcasts on the drive. I really feel like I romanticize my life, even if I am working 7 days a week. And there are most summers, I would say, windows of time where I work 3 weeks in a row without one single full day off. And only because I find the joy in all of those things do I really love it. Now, obviously, that is going to be different for everyone. And,
for sure.
It's very helpful that all of my closest friends have similar jobs or similar lifestyles that allow for this to happen. My husband has the same thing, and he shoots weddings with me, so we spend a lot of time together on those times. But then also, he doesn't always shoot weddings with me. I shouldn't say that. We get to shoot together fairly often, every once, throughout the season. Yeah. And then, the one thing that I do find to be hard is that sunset is later.
Yeah.
So it's actually so funny that I say the seasons are different. Generally, come the fall, I am thank goodness for an early sunset because June, July, August, I am shooting sometimes an early morning sunrise shoot. Like this morning, I did a newborn session at 8 o'clock in the morning, an hour away from home.
Yeah.
So I left the house at 6:30 this morning, and now we're podcasting. Love that for us. And then later this evening, I'll have an engagement session that will end at 9 o'clock at night. So it's a very full day.
And you're not even done it. You're done.
No, then I have to come home, do the backup, thank God for Imagen, run it through a call and an edit, and I at least can feel like it's processed, and then my portion of that where I'm going to run through it and do my retouching and all of that.
Yeah.
That can be in a week from now, but I'm not stressed about the weight of having shot that. Yeah. Scott, I think we talked about this maybe on the episode that I recorded with you of workflows, that I used to feel afraid come my busy family session season, because I would shoot 5 sessions on a weekend.
Yeah.
And every single click, I'd be like, this is going to be painful. The call and edit that I'm going to have. Yeah. And I couldn't be present in those shoots because all I was just thinking was, you should shoot less.
The post-production that you're putting into this.
You should shoot less because the after, the impact of this is going to be painful.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, hell no, I'm not going to limit that by any means because I have so much extra time in my day. So for Jane, I will say, touch grass, take some deep breaths, get in touch with your clients, respond to them with empathy, lead with a sense of like, first of all, how lucky are you as a photographer that they're excited to see the work that you shot? They truly believe that the work that you guys made together is going to be exceptional, and that's why they're excited about it.
Yes.
Then just ask some questions. Are you going to be okay with generally this timeline? Does that work for you? And if it doesn't work for you, like, would you be okay with me maybe giving you some previews back or something like that, just to like keep the monsters at bay?
You can triage that way. You can decide for yourself based on what your clients react to. Like, what is truly
who's
on
mad?
fire?
Who's big mad?
Yeah, who's real big mad at me?
And then I use a productivity planner. I'm a huge proponent of a productivity planner. I actually created my own productivity planner that basically you triage your week and your day and you break them down, because the other thing that really sucks when you're in the weeds is that your brain tends to get foggy.
Yeah.
Right? It's hard to even know, where do I start here? You're looking at a to-do list that just looks like this, like a ticker. And you're thinking, I can't even begin to tell you where I'm going to start with that.
Yeah.
So I use a productivity planner that breaks down a week. And in the week, I will say, here's what I need to get done this week. And it's not a never-ending to-do list. It's genuinely what I actually realistically feel like I could accomplish within that week. You almost always underestimate yourself when you actually do this and you work productively. You almost always underestimate what you can accomplish. So I will put in that list a really realistic attempt at what I think I could do in a week.
Yeah.
And then starting the night before, I actually write it in the night before, because I don't need the first task of my day to think about what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So Sunday night, say, I will plan the next morning, Monday. Here are my 3, and I'm talking literally only 3 most important tasks of that day. So the first one is I'm going to email my clients and say, hi, sorry. The second one is that you're going to prioritize the thing that is probably the latest and the thing that's been, you know in your gut which one that one is, right? Like everybody knows. So that's the second one. And then the third one is just whatever one you think might be the fastest, so that you can just get something checked off maybe, right? And you start, like, I almost do things like top and bottom, like scariest and biggest, and then fastest, that I can just start checking some stuff off the list, right?
Just to move the fat out of that body of that list,
And I mean, probably somewhere in this 1, 2, 3, you will realize, okay, I can breathe now. Now is the time for you to figure out your future plan, which if it were us, obviously, listen, Tim and I don't work for Imagen, but you can imagine that we are really true proponents of it. I would not recommend, if you're in the weeds, signing up for something that is an outsourcing company that you have to do an onboarding with. Absolutely not.
No.
Do not do a thing where you have to have an onboarding call with them to learn your profile, and where they have to analyze your stuff, and it's an individual, and then you have to go back and forth with them and give them your edits and tell them, hey, I think this is good, but actually I really wish that you would have done this differently. Do not do that.
Yeah.
That is not the solution. That's not the solution immediately or long term. First of all, I can promise you, if you don't believe me, talk to Lindsay 5 years ago and see how well outsourcing was working out.
Talk to me last year when I was outsourcing my video editing. Like, that was truly a nightmare. Every time I would outsource to this company who was wonderful, they're from Ukraine, they would give me a different editor and a different style for the video. And I just felt like this was not consistent. It's not what my couples wanted. I ended up going back and forth with the company 5 times an edit just to get things right. On top of the fact that I shoot everything in RAW format, so I had to make proxy files of the video footage and then upload that. That took like a week. Not a week physically, but it took a long time. And then to get the project file back, and it's a different editing style because I had to reconnect the 4K footage to the proxy 720 files. This is a nightmare of things I'm describing, and if you don't understand it...
Terrifying. I hate it all.
I barely understand it myself. It became such a chore to the fact that I'm like, to the point where I was like, I could just do this myself in probably half as much time.
The other thing is, that shit's expensive.
It's not cheap.
That shit
actually, it wasn't that bad.
Maybe your video... but okay, I'm talking about...
time. The time I took to do this extra work was costing me money because the time I spent outsourcing and creating efficiencies was a friggin' nightmare. Because
I was paying anywhere
being paid for those hours.
I was paying anywhere from $350 to $400 US per wedding.
Yeah.
To get back weddings that I would have to re-edit myself. And you're getting them back thinking this is done, and you're like, sweet, I'm going to export this and deliver it within the next week, and you have to start from scratch and basically start over.
Oof.
That is not what Jane wants to do.
No. Right.
Jane and anybody else that's in the Facebook forums, right? Like, you know, Scott, can you actually, like, for people that maybe don't know, because we talk about Imagen a lot, but we're not talking about the logistics of getting started. Like, so if somebody is in this process and okay, they've checked off the first few boxes, they're like, we've emailed my clients, I'm feeling a little bit less panicked. Tuesday's day one job is that I want to get started with Imagen. What does the onboarding process look like for something like that?
So, so Imagen's turning 4 at the end of July. Okay, so we've been doing this for 4 years, doing
Amazing.
AI editing. Okay, July 2024, just in case somebody's listening to this 20 years from now.
Sure.
At the time of recording.
Yeah. There's now many ways. When we first started, there was 2 ways to get started. Now there's many ways. Okay, so your options are, and I'll go in order of what I think is the best for each individual person. Personal AI profile, right? This is where it learns from 3,000 or more previous edits that you've done in the Adobe ecosystem, whether it has to be in the Adobe Camera Raw ecosystem. So Lightroom Classic, Lightroom, Bridge, Photoshop using Adobe Camera Raw, okay? 3,000 or more photos. The second would be a light personal AI profile, which is based on a Lightroom Classic preset combined with a short survey to personalize that preset to you. Both of these learn from you over time, okay? The one that's based on the previous edits is the most accurate that you can have to get it closest to you. The light is okay, but it does get better over time.
Right.
That is very fast. That takes 10 seconds to get started. So that is very fast. Then there is somebody sharing a profile with you. So Lindsay, you have shared your profile with me to do some demos for Imagen, right?
Yeah.
So I can edit with your profile anytime I want.
I love that for you.
That share, right? So, I mean, I'm always demoing your photos edited with your profile when I demo Imagen because you let me do this.
Yeah, of course.
And so that's another option, right? Find somebody that's already using Imagen that can share their profile with you. Takes nothing for you to get started at that point.
Yeah.
Then there is buying a profile from somebody. So just to throw out a name of somebody, Vanessa Joy, for example, has 2 profiles available for sale with Imagen. You can buy them both in one package, I believe, or separate. I can't remember. But you can buy that. It actually gets installed as a personal AI profile on your account.
Wow.
So you're starting with her profile, but it's personal to you, so it learns from you over time as if you started.
Yours as you started, yeah.
Yep. And I think that's it right now, right?
Well, or a talent profile.
Talent profile. I didn't mention talent profile.
That's so like the easiest starting point as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the talent profiles, but there's like 16 or them something built in from like Susan Stripling, Charmy Pena. There's so many in a variety of different styles, color, black and white. Most are raw. 2 of them are JPEG right now. And actually there's 2 that are meant for real estate that are Imagen has made.
That's cool.
That is also available.
And those ones are included in a subscription. Is that correct?
Included. They don't cost anything extra to try.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the other thing that I want to point out is that the price point is really truly unbelievable, right? Like I remember switching from this thing where I was like, I really need to start limiting the number of images that I'm like culling and putting into a wedding because it was just so expensive, and also bad. So so I was like, I was really starting to limit the number of photos that I'd put into something. But you know, you pay per image with Imagen, right? But it's really low. What's I'm going to get it wrong, but you tell me, is it 5 cents?
5 cents a photo at the base.
Crazy.
So
Wild.
yeah. It's very affordable. You can start as a pay-as-you-go plan, which is what we always recommend. We do have other, annual plans, but we definitely recommend starting as pay-as-you-go and figure out what you need. So for someone in Jane's case, if you just need to deliver 100 photos for a family session or whatever it might be, it's not going to cost that much. And you can even put that, the cost that it would cost you to edit with Imagen into your price. So that way you're not eating it. Your clients are basically paying that on top of your regular fee, and they don't have to know, right?
No.
They don't have to know that AI is doing it.
That's what I did with shooting Super 8. I added that as a a line item that they don't know about on the cost of all my videos.
I want to quickly mention something. So you mentioned the productivity planner. So as we're giving this advice to Jane, I want to point out that not everything that you need to do to make your business more efficient with your life happening around you has to cost you money. Okay, so whether you're designing yourself a productivity planner or buying one and then making photocopies, whatever it might be, right? For like ongoing, if you buy a one pager and then make copies, right? That doesn't cost you too much money. But a free option is right in Apple Reminders, right? You can actually categorize a reminder list and then convert it to a Kanban style. So you can actually turn Apple Reminders into a productivity planner on your phone, on your computer, on your iPad, whatever it might be. And
this is what I use. Scott, this is exactly what
you're
I use. Today I will complete, and then I have all the list of things I need to do, and then I can, this is the best. It comes free with every, you should definitely look into buying Lindsay's. Are they for sale?
They're available within my course, betterthanbook.com. You can get my productivity planner. But yeah, I think, everybody has to do what's right for them. I really appreciate that a tangible paper.
Yeah. You like to write things out.
I'm a paper and pen kind of gal.
Yeah.
So I really love a paper and pen. I feel like it's 50-50. People are very split on this when it comes to writing out their tasks.
You should be able to do whatever you want.
It needs to be your own thing.
Being able to cross a thing out or check a thing off.
I just need less time on my phone. I need to have one foot out the door on my devices at all time. Please.
This is something that came up on a podcast that's not related to photography. It's called the Doughboys, and they just review chain restaurants. But one of the co-hosts named Mike, he talks about doing cell phone free Sundays, and I thought, what a delightful idea, because I am so tired of looking at my phone. And I was like, could I feasibly do this? Kind of like to put myself out of the world of productivity. And I'm like, there's not a day of the week where I can't be connected, which is the saddest thought I can think of. But I thought maybe I could do like noon from one day to noon to the next day. And like, that's one way I could actually take a day off from my cell phone completely. I don't know. It's a pilot project.
First of all, I believe that you could. One thing I like to say is I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor. What do you need to reach me for at this hour?
I see what you mean.
What could I possibly need?
Right.
And it's my way of reminding myself when that's my own verbal touch grass moment for Lindsay. Like
You're not going to surgery anytime soon.
I truly do appreciate that photographers on a whole, we really take our careers and our businesses seriously. We appreciate the gravity of our role in people's lives and how important our work is. However, I am not going into surgery anytime soon. I'm not saving lives. I am documenting special moments for people, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but I'm documenting them no less. But I'm not going into surgery. I probably wouldn't turn my phone off on like a day that potentially could be a wedding day or something like that.
Like a Saturday, Sunday could not happen.
Yeah, 100%. There are many days that I literally leave my phone at home.
Yeah.
And it's usually unintentional. I'll like forget it inside and Taylor's like, oh, do you want to go back and get it? And then I'm like, absolutely not, actually. I'm so good. What could anyone need to reach me for right now?
Yeah.
And this is actually interesting. When I was working as a camp counselor, I would work at a full-time like overnight camp every summer.
By the way, you were what, 18 or 17?
16,
watching over 15-year-olds? Like the
gap, I started there when I was 15.
The fact that you were a counselor for other children who were less than a year old.
I was the administrator of the camp when I was 17 years old. I don't think I was legally allowed to write checks at that point. I don't know, but I was running their finances, which no one should have let me do.
Yeah. Who was the adult who put you in that position?
An actual accountant, which they determined that was a bad idea. After me, they stopped letting teenagers have that job. So you can tell that I did a really good one. But I worked at a camp full time, literally 7 days a week, from the end of June until the week before the Labor Day long weekend in September. And you're a teenager, you have a cell phone. At that time we had the QWERTY keyboard. Okay, so we're not talking or T9 maybe even actually is what I had. I had a T9 keyboard, but I was a big texter, and I felt like that was my connection to my friends back home, because the camp that I worked at was an hour and a half from my home.
Right.
And I would see my friends maybe, if I was lucky, once every few weeks. I would go back for an evening, when the camp flipped over from one session to the next.
Okay.
And so I would get caught on my cell phone from the director. I would go and sneak into a corner and respond to a text message really quickly.
Right.
And it was probably not all that quick.
T9 was pretty quick.
T9, I got really fast at it.
I miss T9.
Yeah, I don't. But Steph, the director of the camp, was like, why do you feel the need to be communicating with people? They know where you are. They know what you're up to.
Yeah.
Not all that long ago, the only way for people to reach counselors at camp was to write them a letter, and you would respond by letter. So she was sort of saying why aren't you more present? Why aren't you feeling like you can be here? And I said, well, they reached out, so I feel like I have to respond. And she said, the faster you respond, you're training them to know that you're that responsive.
Yeah.
So start training the people that are contacting you to not expect an immediate response. So I downloaded that into my business, because the first couple of years I was incredibly responsive to literally everything.
Yeah.
I would get clients contact me on Sunday night and I would feel really resentful, and then I would respond. And now I'm literally training my clients, and with weddings, I have a new batch of them every single year. So I'm retraining every single year. I have boundaries in place, and I tell them when I book, by the way, email's always the best way to reach me.
Yeah.
The week of your wedding, by all means, call or text me.
Yep.
So that they know so that means I shouldn't just call or text you on a random Saturday or Sunday night.
From their date. Yeah.
What do you think of this or whatever?
Yeah.
And then standing by that. So I do still get text messages from brides, because that's their preferred way of contacting me. But I have to remind them, it's actually quite critical that we keep this all in one communications thread for many, many reasons.
Which is something we've said before, because having all of your communication, whether it be small details or large details, in one space for both of us, which is inbox, email.
Yeah.
Is so helpful just to be able to reference something really quickly. Mm-hmm.
And so if somebody drops you a DM in Instagram saying hey, can we make sure we get photos like this? I will take a screenshot of it, or even a link of the reel or whatever that they've sent me. The next day, if it's an evening and it's outside of the hours that I feel like responding, I will respond by email saying, hey, I got your DM. Thank you so much. I love that idea. I don't want to disregard what they've said entirely. And I probably don't say, by the way, I think you know that I like to email. Based on my responding by email, they've clued in. They're aware. Yeah. But I like to think of that sort of summer camp mentality of, I just don't need to be accessible to people at all hours of the day.
24 hours a day.
Just because they reach out doesn't mean you have to respond the way that they have and in the timing that they have. You can respond in the way that feels right for you and honors your own boundaries within your life and your business.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you, I've had, again, between having a full-time job at Imagen and having photography business on the side, I have had my wife and my kids actually bring it up that I'm constantly, replying to texts or Facebook messages or Instagram DMs or whatever it might be, to the point where I made a change. And nights and weekends, unless it's vital to whatever's happening, I'm not responding. I'll take a quick peek, and if I need to respond, I'll respond. Otherwise, I mark it as unread and get back to it the next business day during business hours.
Yeah.
Because you have to separate, and you have to make the time for your family and for whatever else you have in your life.
Those are the priorities, right? Yeah. If you treat everyone like they're emergencies and family, then you're not going to have time for yourself. I'll actually tell people like, hey, thank you for this. I'm marking this as unread. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And that's such a healthy way to tell yourself and tell them that this is a healthy boundary that we should both respect.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have to pee. I drink so much Red Bull.
I love
and
that.
We're also
for
like
you.
an hour and 12 minutes into the show.
I feel like we've done it, honestly. Scott, what are your thoughts? Do you have any last thoughts? Any last things that you want to share? Actually, can you please tell everybody that might be listening to this on the Shoot Your Shot side of things, how they can find you, anything that you want to point out about your podcast, where they can reach you, all these things. Plugs.
Yeah. So for all the Shoot Your Shot listeners and viewers, you can find me at anywhere online at Scott Wyden. That's Wyden. And of course at Imagen. I run the Imagen community on Facebook. You can listen to the Workflows Photography podcast. Just go to workflowspodcast.com and you'll be able to get it. Very happy when I got that domain.
Very lucky.
And I do want to do one thing real quick, and I'm sorry, Tim, because you said you do have to go to the bathroom, but I know we are now a couple, was it like 2 or 3 episodes in from Shoot Your Shot? Something like that. I don't know, whenever this airs. But I want to formally cheers to your engagement.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Let's do it. We need a cheers. Cheers to, and I wish I could have gotten your advice on shooting a proposal. It was only my second or third proposal I had shot. But yes, I loved the water bottle and Red Bull cheers there. Cheers.
Thanks,
cheers to your engagement, Tim. It's a very big deal. I've been trying to plan his wedding without his consent.
Successfully. You've been doing a great job. Last night, I got a bunch of texts from you like, what do you think about Iceland? I'm like, well, I'm not against it.
Yeah. I'm workshopping some ideas. It's the fire sign in me. I can't let people just enjoy things. I have to be like, oh, what's the next thing we're doing? What's the next phase of this?
Yeah.
That that's one of the things that I love about you, that you've got an opinion. It's always a good one, and you have no shame in sharing it.
The history books will dictate if it was.
I think the second part, it's always a good one. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but at least people are still listening to the podcast where I give said advice, and no one has sent me any hate mail yet. So
no mail bombs yet.
That's I do give a lot of opinions, and I always give it alongside a healthy dose of you do you, boo.
Let go and let God.
Absolutely.
Scott, thank you so much.
This has been such
a crossover episode,
a joy.
Like Flintstones and Jetsons. This has been great.
One day we'll have you physically in our tiny little podcast studio, but for now, Scott on the telly will have to do. For people that want to find us, they can find us on Instagram at the Shoot Your Shot podcast. That's where we get your DMs, your questions, and we answer them live on this podcast. And although today's was anonymous, sometimes instead of Scott's beautiful face here, you'll actually see a video of one of our listeners if they are sharing something maybe a little less personal, or it's personal, but they're like, YOLO, might as well share it right out here. Yeah. We love that. It's like a photography or a radio call-in show. So you can literally just send us a voice note, send us a DM, whatever that might be. We would truly love to hear from you. We love the Imagen community so much, and all the photographers that are associated that we've met have been a true joy. So I felt like this crossover episode just made so much sense because we all love each other. It's a big old love fest over here.
Yeah. It is. And you know, for everybody who's listening on both sides, if you enjoy this crossover and you want to hear us and see us do more crossovers, you know, send Shoot Your Shot a DM requesting more. Go to the Imagen community and say, show me more. Send Imagen a DM on Instagram, whatever it might be. We want to know if you want to hear more so that we can keep doing more of these crossovers. So yeah.
100%. We love it. Yeah. The Facebook community that you run, Scott, is a huge resource. So hopefully people will join that as well. Thank you so much. This has been a joy and a half. It's so nice to see your face and to chat with you. And thank you for your wonderful perspectives. We are so excited for everyone to hear from you.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay, toodaloos. We usually do an air high five, so like you have to high five up, okay?
Over here, Lindsay.
Oh, okay. Here. That's good. We'll take it. I love it. Okay, ciao. Have an awesome rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us, Scott.
You too.
Bye.